I see founders set up in Dubai every week, and the conversation usually starts with tax and residency. But many don't talk about a decision that creates regret later, and that decision is about choosing between Freezone and Mainland Dubai. And that single choice determines far more than what most founders realize. It determines who you are legally allowed to sell to, how your income is classified for tax, how banks assess your risk, and your business model fit. I'm Sagar Kopchandani, founder of Greenwolf Global. We help founders and family offices structure and expand across Asia, the Middle East, Europe, and the US. This is the second video in our 12-country global structuring series, where we break down how jurisdictions actually work. Today, I'll give you a clean founder-level decision framework to choose between Free Zone and Mainland Dubai. So let's start with why UAE became a default choice for global founders in the first place. Between 2022 and 2025, the UAE issued hundreds of thousands of long-term resident visas, including golden visas for founders, investors, and senior professionals. So founders look at the UAE for three very specific reasons: low and predictable taxes, clear residency options, and quick company incorporation. So setting up in the UAE is pretty straightforward. But once you decide to build something real here, structure becomes the bottleneck. And that's what we'll discuss in this video. If you stay with me till the end, I'll also show you the most common mistake founders make in Dubai and how it can be expensive later on. Free zone versus mainland, what it really means. Here's the simplest way to understand the difference. Free zone is for international orientation, while mainland is for UAE market orientation. So free zone structures typically offer you 100% foreign ownership, clear operating rules like what you can do, who you can sell to, and how the business is regulated. It also helps you in easier structure for building international clients. Company setup and residency can be handled together here. But you cannot really sell to UAE mainland customers without intermediate or additional structure. And that's where you need mainland. It allows you direct access to UAE customers, unrestricted domestic selling, eligibility for government and large enterprise contracts, broader hiring flexibility across locations. So both are strong, but they're built for very completely different purposes. Next, we move on to an important part, corporate taxes. Globally, UAE corporate taxes are relatively low. You have 9% corporate tax on profit about 375,000 dirhams. And certain free zone income can qualify for 0% corporate tax, but only if it meets qualifying income condition under UAE corporate tax laws. In simple terms, qualifying income usually means revenue earned from outside the UAE, like export of services or income that fits clearly within the free zone approved activity scope. The moment you start generating UAE domestic revenue, that income typically moves into the 9% tax bracket. So, two practical rules for you. Revenue generated outside the UAE often qualifies for 0%, and revenue generated from UAE mainland customers is generally taxed at 9%. This distinction is critical as this is the single biggest reason founders regret their UAE setup after their first profitable year. Now, let's understand how important are substance rules and banking in UAE. Every serious jurisdiction eventually asks this one question: are you actually operating from here? And the UAE is no different. If you are engaged in headquarters, IP, holding, distribution, or service activities, you must demonstrate substance, people, decision making, commercial activity, or a physical presence in the UAE. Such claims become harder to justify if the business is not actually operating from the UAE, and the authorities may question the setup, which often leads to expensive restructuring later on. Even the banks use substance as a primary risk filter for account opening and the remittances. So the free zone founders often get into trouble because they set up quickly and then operate entirely offshore. It works until it doesn't. Now, once revenue starts flowing in, you need to be careful about VAT. So the VAT registration is mandatory if the UAE shows taxable supplies exceed 375,000 dirhams in a 12-month period, and the VAT rate in the UAE is 5%. But the entities that are registered in free zone and billing outside the UAE can often stay outside VAT. But the moment services are delivered inside the UAE, VAT becomes mandatory. Next, we talk about the banking reality. If you understand only one section of this video, make it this one. Because banking is where most setup gets stuck. Banks work on the qualification and easily reject the application if you fail the qualification. They test the residency of the founder, clarity of the business model, customer geography, transaction pattern, and the substance evidence. So the most UAE banks are strict and complete onboarding only after internal compliance and risk reviews. So they want to see the real structure and not just the placeholder companies. And yes, this applies to both Freezone and the mainland setups. So finally, which founder should choose what? Here's a simple framework that you can choose. Choose a Freezone if you are any of these five businesses. A SaaS founder who is building internationally, or an agency or consulting firm with foreign clients, or you're setting up IP or a holding entity, or building cross-border services, or maybe you are a solo founder who is prioritizing ownership clarity and the residency. So the Freezone optimizes for the global revenue, clear rules, and the full ownership. And when to choose mainland? Choose mainland if you are selling to the UAE customers, or building a consumer brand, or hiring teams across locations, or you're targeting the government or enterprise contracts, or maybe planning long-term domestic scale. So the mainland optimizes for the local revenue, operational reach, and the regional market access. Now let's talk about the cost, including the ongoing structure cost, that would help you compare the benefits of registering in the UAE. So the free zone structure can typically range from 15,000 to 50,000 dirhams per year, depending upon the free zone you choose. And the mainland structure can typically range from 20,000 to 100,000 dirhams per year. So these are the recurring structural costs and not just one-time setup fees. So the free zone versus mainland is less about cheap versus expensive. It's mainly about the fit for purpose. So choose what fits you the best. Next I'll tell you when the UA is not the right fit for you. So the UA is the wrong choice if you are serving global customers, but the business is not actually operated from the UA. So the shell companies are a bad idea here. Or you're operating a thin margin local retail business. Or maybe you want residency without having real operations here. Or your activity does not align with the UAE licensing frameworks. So don't build here just because it's trending. Build here because it fits your objective. Now in the final section, let's talk about a few very common mistakes founders make in Dubai. So the first is taking banking lightly. Founders think once the license is issued, bank account will be done easily. But in reality, banks are strict here. They look at your substance, revenue clarity, and the transaction logic. And if that narrative is not clear, onboarding slows or even stalls. The second is treating the corporate tax as a later problem. So many founders register a company, but they delay corporate tax registration filing or the planning. And the failure to register for corporate tax can actually invite the penalty of 10,000 dirhams. Third is assuming that free zone means zero compliance. So let me tell you, free zone reduce friction but not the responsibility. You still need proper accounting, auditing, EHR alignment, and clean documentation here. And ignoring this can invite problems for you. Fourth is mixing personal and the business residency thinking. So the founder secure residency in the UAE but continue running the business from another country. Decision making, contract, and money flows happen elsewhere, while the UAE entity exists only on the paper. And that can invite scrutiny and banking challenges for you. So Dubai works extremely well when your structure is clean. If you get the basics right early, then scaling is easier for you. This is video 2 of our 12 country global structuring series. In the next video, we move to Hong Kong, which is one of the Asia's preferred destinations, especially if you are dealing with China. See you in the next video.